Hey there YouTube, this is Andy with Left Field Engineering, and today I will be installing my custom designed big motor kit for the Axial SCX24. I will be using a 4mm nut driver, a 050 Allen wrench. You can also use the one that came in the kit, and also a 1.5mm Allen wrench. So the kit includes a new motor plate with 4 mounting holes instead of 2, a modified battery tray that has 3 legs, and you'll see why later, and the larger motor in the 050 frame size with a brass 13-tooth pinion and the appropriate JST connector. So to give a little background on this, these trucks are awesome. They're actually quite fast for their size, but coming from the 10 scale community, I really wanted a more scale crawler. So I'll turn this on and kind of give you what my opinion on this thing. So as you can see, this thing is fast, and when you approach an obstacle, even if I'm giving it a little throttle, you'll hear the ESC given power. If I'm crawling around, like, this is an appropriate slow speed for kind of the scale crawling, but you'll see it stalls when it hits, and you can hear it. I'm giving it maybe 10-15% throttle, and it'll start crawling over it, and I'm maybe at 25%, and then as it goes, it's quick. It jumps. You almost have to pump the throttle to kind of give it that scale look. So, if I try real hard to get it to look scale, I'll creep along here. I'm going to give it a little more throttle when I get to the rocks, and then I'm going to anticipate, and I'm going to back off as soon as I get over the rocks, and so I do this one-handed. So I came up with this kit. I sourced motors internationally. I designed and laser cut replacement brackets. I also designed this piece. Soldered it all together for you. Kit's available on eBay as soon as this video goes live. It's a good option to put it in the truck and have use all the original hardware and not need to modify anything. So if you ever want to go back, you can hot swap motors out. That's what the kit's available for. So I'm going to reposition the camera here, and I'll get into the installation instructions. Alright, here we go. So, body clips. Put them aside. I'm going to take our truck here. I'm going to shut it off. Shut the power off. Alright. The obligatory first thing you do is remove the battery. That's not just because we're going to need to pick the battery tray off. So I'll put some parts out of the way here. Alright. Using the, I have a nut driver for it, but you can use the little one that came in the kit. You don't want to remove 4 screws and save the 4 screws that go in the battery tray. Now, one awesome thing about the Axial SCX24 is 99% of the hardware is the same length and size. So don't be worried about which piece of hardware goes where, because they're all universal and they're all going to go back together. So do here. All right. Battery tray just kind of like slides out of there. I'm going to remove the battery strap. I'm just going to go ahead and put this on the other one now because I'm going to forget about it later, and you'll want to thread it through when it's out of the truck. So you can put it in either direction you want. If you prefer strapping the battery to the right or to the left, doesn't matter. So we'll put that in there, and that's ready for later. Alright, next thing. You'll notice on my truck I have this light controller. Man, I don't remember where I got it. It was one of these eBay specials. You can plug it right in line with the factory lights and plug it into the auxiliary channel on this, and when I flip the channel on the remote, the lights come on and off. I had it, so I threw it in this truck. Alright, I'm going to unplug the motor. So these trucks run this 88 turn, what they call the 030 size motor. You know, if you go and look in the forums and stuff, you'll find that RC 4-wheel drive has a nice replacement motor for this. I tried it. It is a little slower, and you can kind of play around with the pinions. But I was really driving for this slow crawl, high torque, you know, hence making my own kit. So, all right. If you do any work on this transmission, you're just going to want to take it out. I mean, whether it's even pulling this front cover off or, you know, trying to swap motors, it's 3 screws to take the transmission out. So there's 2 right here and here on the bottom and 1 on the top. So I'll take the 1 on the top out first. Might not be a bad idea to magnetize your, you know, Allen wrench before this, because you're not going to want to drop these. I'm probably going to drop one in this video, and then you're going to hear me shuffling around on the floor. I typically like to do videos in 1 take. I don't have a lot of editing software, so what you see is what you get. All right, I'll take this bottom screw out here. Take 1 more out. Apologize if I sound a little gravelly too. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, and I just got up to make this video, so I'm super excited to get this kit rolled out. Just got the parts back from the cutter. Now, you'll notice here, short drive shaft up front. It's important because when I was prepping for this video, I put it in backwards. I had to take the truck all apart again. So, short drive shaft up front, long drive shaft out back. This we can put aside for now. All right, on to the transmission. I'm going to remove the 2 screws here and here. They both face up because the drive shaft has a D shape to it, and you know, or the transmission shaft has a D shape to it. So I'm going to remove that screw. Again, all these screws are the same length, so I'm not super worried about it. The front shaft is the side with the cover and is opposite of the motor. So I'll take that one out, twist the shaft around here so I can get to it, and take this one out. That one is proving to be a little more difficult. I found this one, if you get the wrench in there, you can kind of put a little side torque on it. You can normally pull the screw right out. There's a back hole in the, there's a through hole in the back side. If you had a little paper clip or something, you could always poke the screw out. All right, so I'm going to remove these 2 top screws. As an option to this, I did not cut this motor shaft. You know, it was an added operation. It would have added extra cost. So I found on mine, I run it without this cover on it. You know, a bunch of my big 10 scale trucks don't have covers on them, so it was never an issue to me. You're more than welcome to cut this shaft. The gear is just pressed on. It's hand pressed on. If you need to take it off, you can always get under here with a pair of wire cutters. Typically they have a ramp on them, so if you kind of give it a nice soft pull, you can get this gear to come off. This is a 13 tooth pinion. I have available 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. I've tested them all in this. I didn't really know what the effect of this motor was going to be on this, so I wanted a broad range of options. This motor is really slow. It's high torquey, as you can tell from the body that it is considerably longer than the stock one. RPMs are a little slower, and it's torquey for sure. So I went with the highest pinion to kind of get the speed back. I know a couple of guys I talked to that I was working with on this project, they like to walk with their trucks. You know, you're just, you know, you're walking down the trail, you're walking while your kid's at the park or something, and you want to kind of keep up with it. And originally, I ran the stock pinion, which is an 11 tooth, and it was slow. It is awesome slow. It's super scale. You can crawl over about anything at like 5% throttle. And you can always change that. So basically, I give you a couple options. You have 13 tooth, which I'm supplying, and you can always slip this one off and put it on this motor if you want additional torque. So, all right, back to this. I'm going to pull this gear off now with the 4mm nut driver. Try not to lose that. So I'll have that gear off. Alright, so next I'm going to take off the transmission screws here. Alright, so if you'll notice, this one is longer. So the transmission screws you'll want to keep separated from the other hardware. So take out this one. However, the transmission screws are all the same length, so you only have to worry about keeping them separated from those, not a individual position in the transmission itself. There's one more. You'll need to steal the hardware off the motor here, so I'll do that in a second, once I get the transmission apart. Nothing's holding the two halves of the transmission together right now. So you want to be somewhat careful of not, dropping that on the floor and dumping it all over the place. This is where you'll need the 1.5mm Allen wrench. The two motor screws are the only thing on the SCX24 that are 1.5mm head size. So take that apart. Okay, I'll put that aside for now. Motor, it doesn't quite matter which way it goes because it'll fit the new motor plate. So we've got this aluminum motor plate here. If you noticed the way I took it apart, you'll want it to go this side. I'll work this side facing me. So the first thing I'm going to do is put the transmission back together. So it slips on here. And get the right screws here in the right tool. So again, see the transmission was coming apart on me a little. I just squeezed it back together. Gonna feed this screw through here into the transmission case. Gently tighten up. Again, these are super small screws going into just plastic, so snug, barely snug is good enough. You can always go back and tighten them more. It's a hell of a lot harder to try to fix threads. So one goes there, down here. There's no bottom case on this, so I don't think you lost something. The bottom of the case is actually the bottom of the truck. So I'll put this one in here. And snug, and one more. All right, so I'm going to set this aside for now, because I don't need these parts. These are be in your spare part pile. All right, motor. So I'm going to get it on here, get it lined up to these holes. I'm going to snug it up, not tighten it, because I'm going to set the backlash between these gears here and now. So I'm going to put the 1.5mm. Let's see if I can get this to work on camera here. Alright, I see one screw hole. So, got it. Perfect. And the next one. Apologize for the dirty hands too. I was rebuilding a boat transmission over there. I run a part-time fab shop and just general mechanic stuff. So this past weekend I was rebuilding the boat transmission and it was messy for sure. So this gear is directional. You see on the left side there's a little shoulder. That's important because that goes against the transmission. So if you're lucky, oh, I might have been. If you're lucky, this just lines actually perfect. So it lines up. I want to offset this a little more because the mesh is a little coggy, meaning you could give it a little bit of a gap and not wear on this enough. So in order to do that, you just slide it up and down in these holes. Now you'll notice one of them is behind the gear. That's why I said you want to do this in this particular order, because it's hard to get the wrench in here to fix it. So I'm just going to take this and slide it all the way to the bottom and see if it gets any better. So I'll go down, snug it back up, take the gear, put it back on there. There's a flat on this, so you'll see me put it on and rotate it to get it to fit in the D shape, and then line it up with the gear. Alright, I'm going to try that one more time. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it loose, and I'm going to put it in here and see which side it really looks good on. Alright, that's in there. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hold it to the outside a little. See how that like free spools? That's where I'm going to put it. So I'll hold it to the outside a little and tighten up the screws one last time. Alright. Perfect. These screws are tight. This is all set. I'm just going to take the 4mm nut driver and reattach the spur gear. Oh, there we go. It was starting to catch. Okay. Perfect. So, now put this back together. Again, big drive shaft. Goes in the back. Slides onto the D shape. Get the hole up. Take any of the remaining screws and put it together. Gently. Again. So, same thing. Any screws. Okay, so now we have the reassembled motor transmission combination with drive shafts. Alright, now comes the fun part. So I have found lining up the back one first is probably the easiest. So you just fish around here and get the back one to go in. And then you want to slide the front one. I'm going to try to do this on camera. There's a lot of black parts in here. So you're going to slide the front drive shaft together. Get it close, press it straight, and it should, there it is, in there. So now I found that lining up this hole first is the easiest. So it does nicely like almost sit in there. So once I get that one lined up, I fortunately have one screw still stuck in the bottom here. So I felt that with my finger on the back side. I figured, you know what, if it's already here, we'll get that one started. I'm not going to tighten it up a ton because I'm going to try to get the other hardware in there first. Alright, this one goes back in the top here. You can see we're having that magnetic driver is really important. If you're like, oh, mine's not magnetic, if you just take like a neodymium magnet and put it on here for a couple minutes, I don't even know if it has to be a couple minutes. You might just have to put it on there for a couple seconds, but it'll give a residual magnetism to the tool. And and help with this. So, all right, since I got the other one in, I'm going to gently snug these up again. And there. Snug this one back up, and we're almost done. Just got to put the battery tray on and fire it up. So, battery tray. It is 3D printed. I will have this file available in case you break it or so. This was relieved after the fact. Version 1 parts. I printed a whole ton of them and realized I needed to clearance this back. I clearanced them all to a gauge, but if this hits one of the trailing arms, you can just file this down a little bit more. Like I said, version 2, the file available will have this all taken care of. This prints right on a bed plate. Just prints up. You know, this is regular PLA, so should be all good. So this goes in here with the two legs versus the one leg. The two legs towards the non-motor side. So I will just finesse this through the frame rails. You kind of got to pinch it a little, or if you sneak it in, you know, you put the back side in, and then you get this one to kind of hang through the frame rails here. It'll almost like snap into place. So I got that one in, that one in, that one in. The holes are pre-drilled in these. There are holes in the file, but I opened them up so that they are, you know, the hardware should just thread right into it. So if you look down through here, the hole is actually not lined up because it's right there. I'll hold that in place. Put the screw in here. Oh, it missed it. See, not everything's perfect. And this side popped up. So let's try this again. All right, I'm going to do this side first. Okay, so that's in there good. These look like they're still lined up. So you're going to end up with one piece of extra hardware because this only has 3 legs, and I'll show you why in a second. Get that started there. I'm going to hold it in position. Of course, magnetism got me this time. So stick that on there. Hold this in position. Stick the screw through the hole. Got it. Okay. Actually, technically, I'm going to end up with 3 pieces of hardware because of the cover. But, like I said, if you want to cut that motor shaft down, die grinder, Dremel tool, something that'll cut hardened steel, do it. All right. So there's the battery tray. Now, the reason that is the leg on the other one goes down through this area here, which is the back of the motor. So this actually has a little pad on it that sits on top of the motor and lets the 3 legs hold it up. All right. Next, I'll plug the motor in. So it's pre-wired to the same connector. It goes in the white port, just to verify that is the MOT, or motor, obviously. All right. Cool. So, battery time, put the battery back in, tighten that up, put the battery in here. Alright, I'm going to gently stockpile the rest of my parts here so I don't run them off the table when I fire it up and test it. Tools and body clips. Alright. So we'll fire it up here, turn the ESC on, turn on the radio. And she's already a little slower, so get this truck put down here. throw one body clip in it just for the heck of it here. Alright, so as you can see now, my slowest speed is pretty good. Let me slide the camera over to the rock pile there, and I'll try to demonstrate the crawling. So now you'll notice when I get up to this, there's no stall anymore, and my slow speed is pretty slow, you know, and you can maintain that drive right over, you know, it's got that scale feel to it. You give a little, there's less wheel spin. There's, try to get a good position here. You know, it's got a much smoother, we'll say cadence to it or so. You know, it's got this, you can just push through it. So to me, I was really shooting for that scale look. And I think I nailed it. So, of course, I'm stuck in the rocks. Let's try that again. Nobody likes getting stuck. You know, still got enough get up and go. So if you gotta, you know, if you gotta crawl through here, that is, you know, I'm gonna put it over here and come across. This is full speed. So it's slower. You're not gonna end up with a, you know, a perfect. You're not gonna be running behind it. But if you want on a table, on your desk, you're crawling around, that original stock gearing is pretty quick, and so this gives you tons of torque. It's completely reversible, meaning, you know, you play the video backwards essentially. You can put it back to stock. You know, if you want slower crawl, you can always put on that the other gear. I'm probably going to do that after. I do like the 11 tooth. It's super torquey, and you know, I don't mind taking it slow. So hope you guys appreciate the video. If you got any questions, you know, feel free to email me if you purchase the kit. Hit me up here, comment, you know, and I hope everybody likes it. Thank you. Bye.